Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you all and welcome to the channel. In this tutorial we will cover the installation of the JDK and also the installation of the IDE, as well as a teaser with regards to program execution to give you insight into what to expect from this episode onwards pertaining to the tutorial. So hopefully this episode or this video will be beneficial and helpful. With that said, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وارض اللهم عنا معهم أجمعين اللهم آمين. We start this lecture in the name of God, the most merciful in this life and the hereafter, and we pray that we follow in the footsteps of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his companions. Amen. For starters, we will begin with the installation of the JDK. So we will not be installing JRE. We covered the differences between JVM, JDK, and JRE in the previous video. So we will be utilizing the development kit, Jdk, in this tutorial series. I actually had to retrieve the links from our community on the Discord server because well, I could have used the Google search engine, but I normally rely on our community for links and programs because we have an assortment of databases on our community there. So I wanted to rely on that instead. So here is the link for the JDK from Oracle. I will also be posting that link in the description beneath this video, God willing. So I realized that they have removed version 11 from the website. Now they only have 17. I will give you an advice regarding development kits or programs or program versions or builds in general. If you wish to download a particular program and you wish to download the stable version as opposed to the newer, possibly unstable versions, look for these three letters, LTS, which stands for long-term support. That means that the developers of that program are continually supporting that particular build, even if they are releasing newer versions of the program. So it seems, because I use 11, or was it 15? I do not remember. So I have not visited the Oracle website in a long time. I think it was about a year when I downloaded my JDK for educational purposes. So now they have the JDK version 17 and it is LTS. So we will start with downloading the installer. I use Windows, and for this tutorial we will be utilizing the Windows operating system. I am not well versed in Macintosh and or Linux, so I will not be covering the tutorial in those with regards to those operating systems. Hopefully you can find tutorials online that utilize those two operating systems, though I believe the concept is the same with regards to coding anyways. So we will start with downloading the installer, or whichever type of product you wish to download. I normally download the installer and have the installer finalize the packages. So now it has been installed. I am installing this in real time. I do not have version 17 on my computer, so I will install 17. Okay, next. I will leave everything by default, and I believe the JDK adjusts itself in the environmental paths. We could have a video about environmental paths or environmental variables later on, inshallah and God willing. Okay, so we will close. Now to confirm that the JDK has been installed, you will open your command prompt and then you will type in two commands. We have Java by itself. This is the command to run a program, and Javac is the command to compile a program. So this is for execution, this is for compilation. So I will type in Java space hyphen version and press enter. And as you can see, it has been installed. Then we will ensure that the compiler is also or the compiler has been installed. It should be, because we downloaded a JDK. So we will type in Javac space hyphen version and again, so it has been installed. So now we can actually start with program execution. I know you see two other tabs and you could possibly infer that these are the IDEs, but before we discuss IDEs, I will show you how to execute the program manually through the command prompt. So I will close this for now. I will minimize this for now and minimize this as well. So I will open Notepad here, and I will if you do not have any background in programming, you may not understand what I am typing, but we will explain all of this in detail in future videos, inshallah, and God willing. So we will start with a line for a function that we, a method. I have been teaching C recently, and in C, methods are called functions, not methods. So forgive me if I use functions and methods interchangeably. To be quite frank, they can be used interchangeably. So this is the name of the method, main. This is the access specifier. Static is a keyword and void is a keyword for the return type. We will cover all of this in later videos in detail. I simply want to show you how to execute a program in Java for this tutorial, simply to emphasize the importance of an IDE, or an integrated development environment. In future episodes, God willing, we will cover what public means, what static means, what void means, and what this means: string, double square brackets, args. You may think this is related to piracy, but no, it is not. It stands for arguments. That is what arg stands for, arguments. So this is how the method is written, and then you will open curly braces like so and close the curly brace at the bottom here. Then here we will press tab. Ensure that after you write the title of the method to indent. That way it helps you understand and read the code easier, because when you see indentation, it indicates that whatever is here is a content of the title. So we will say system.out.println or println, and here we will pass the argument. Do not worry, we will explain the anatomy or the structure of coding in future episodes. We will say welcome to Java. So if we execute this program correctly, this code here, this should appear on our console, or on our terminal, I should say. Let me remove this extra space here. There we go. So this is what we refer to as source code from the previous video. This is known as the source code, which will be transformed to bytecode, and then from bytecode to machine code. So I will save this on the desktop, and I will call it, let us say, driver. In programming, or in particular Java, driver is the name of the class that has this method, the main method. If a class has a main method, it is referred to as a driver class. And if you recall the hierarchy of the API, we have a library that is composed of multiple packages, and each package contains multiple or a collection of classes, and each class has a collection of variables and methods. The driver class in particular contains the main method, and we will discuss the importance of the main method. So you will name it .java. Ensure that you write the extension correctly. I will show you why I called this driver in just a moment, and click save. So if I minimize this, I will place it here. This is the code that I created. It takes the icon here is the icon of the IDE that I use, but we will cover this later on in just a moment. So we open the terminal, cd to change directory. If you would like a tutorial for simple terminal commands, particularly Linux, I do have a humble assortment of commands that I can share with you in future tutorials if you would like. So we will say desktop. So now the terminal is within the desktop. Now I wish to target this. So what do I do? Firstly, we need to compile the source code, then execute the source code. So to compile, we will type java c space the name of the file, driver dot java. For this command to compile, you need the file extension, but to execute, you just need the file name, not the extension. So I will press enter, and we have errors here. So the error is that, if you recall what we discussed in the previous video, or a few moments ago actually, that the hierarchical order is library, package, class, then method. So because we started this code with a method but without a class, that is why it says class expected. We will cover what an interface and enum are later on, inshallah, and God willing. So our issue here is that we need to put this method in a class. Methods cannot be individualized. They must be part of a whole. Similar to a synecdoche. So we will say public, and you do need the access specifier when you declare anything, whether it is a class, a method, or a variable. So we will say public. What is this that we are creating? We are creating a class, and the class name must match the file name. That is why I called it a driver, because this class is a driver class that contains main. You can call it main if you would like, or you can call it test, but ensure that what you type here is the name here. So you can change the name of the file later to have it match this. And Java is case sensitive, so ensure that if you type the class here, it must be uppercase and the words must match. So we will type in driver, and then we will open the curly braces, as they call it, and we will close it. So this is where indentation is beneficial. To have the code easier to read, I want to show the user or the reader or the viewer that this method in its entirety belongs in this scope here. So it is best to indent. That way you can say, oh, here are the curly braces that indicate the scope. We will cover scope later. So this class contains this method in its entirety. Then we save, Control S, or you can save from here if you would like. I will keep this in case I made mistakes. So this should contain the corrected code or source code. So we will type Java C, or actually I can press up on the directional arrow pad and run the command again. So if you do not see any errors, that means the command ran successfully. So I should have a file, a newly created file here, if I can find it. Let's see, driver. I cannot find it here. It should be here if I can find it. Let us see, driver, and maybe I can. Ah, there it is. I forgot to occupy this space. So this is the file that was created after I ran this command. I have the file set to open with Notepad. That is why it has the Notepad icon. But let us right click. If you do not have it set already, you will see a white icon similar to this icon that I have for iTunes or Omelette. And we will cover Omelette later on, God willing. You should see the file like this, and it would say file name .class. But I will show you here in properties. This is the file type .class. So this is the byte code that we mentioned in the previous video. Once we run the execution command, this will be automatically or quickly converted to machine code, and then the code will be executed. I will open this for you to show you what it contains. You will be able to recognize certain words within the bytecode, and you will see these strange symbols that you will not be able to read. From my knowledge, you can learn how to read this. I did not learn it, to be quite honest, so I do not understand what these indicate. But you do see our code that we wrote here. Welcome to Java. And this is the method that we used, system.out.println, and we will cover what print stream is later on. Okay, so this is our .class. So now to execute the file, you will simply say Java space, without the C because we have compiled it already, driver without the file extension, and then press enter. And there you have it. Has been executed successfully. Now, if you use Notepad to write your code or your source code and you have errors, the errors will not appear unless you start compilation. Then you will receive the errors, and the terminal will inform you of the location of the of the error but also will inform you of the nature of the error. That is because Notepad is not an IDE or an integrated development environment. It does not notify you of mistakes that you commit while typing the source code. For example, if I forget this semicolon at the end of this command or this instruction, Notepad will not notify me of the error, because we must end any instruction or command or declaration in Java with a semicolon. So if I forget the semicolon here, for example, or if I forget the class declaration as I did earlier, which was intentional, Notepad will not notify you of that, which is why if you would like, you can use Notepad, of course, but because we are human and we are prone to mistakes, that is part of our nature. We are created with that. Our perfection lies within our imperfection. So that is why it is best if you use an IDE. Now, let me just start here and increase the font here. So an IDE is the abbreviation of integrated development environment. Hopefully I remembered the name correctly. So this IDE is a program that we use to write source code or to write other programs. Their purpose is to alert you of any mistakes, and some IDEs actually make recommendations for you if you used a certain method and there is a better method or a better algorithm. We will discuss what an algorithm is later, God willing. Some IDEs will actually provide you with recommendations or suggestions. So the IDE that I would personally recommend for you to use, I know people may disagree with me and say Eclipse is better or Visual Studio Code is better, Notepad++ is better, or NetBeans is better. Personally speaking, I prefer Intellij. Intellij IDE. That is the name of the IDE that I would recommend for you to use. Now, I will be posting both links in the description below. This is the Jetbrains Toolbox. It contains the IDEs for different programming languages provided by the company Jetbrains. I do not believe all of these are free. Some of them are purchasable. Others are free, such as PyCharm for Python and IntelliJ for Java. I wish they had CLion free for C++ and C. Unfortunately, that is not the case. And PHP Storm, I believe, is also purchasable. But the reason I would recommend this toolbox for you is because if you are accustomed with certain video game clients such as GOG or Steam, you have the client here and it alerts you with updates automatically. That is why I would recommend the toolbox, because you can access it. So I have it here. And it informs you of what was installed through the toolbox, what was installed manually, if you have any updates, and it also allows you to install and uninstall the IDEs quickly, as opposed to resorting to the control panel, for example. So I would recommend using the toolbox. When I installed my IntelliJ, I believe JetBrains did not have the toolbox released yet. That is why I have it manually installed, but I installed PyCharm for Python. That is the name of the IDE for the Python programming language. I installed it through the toolbox. So I will leave both in the description below. Feel free to install what you would like. However, if you are downloading IntelliJ, download the Community Edition, not the Ultimate Edition, because the Ultimate Edition is purchasable. It is not free, though, as you can see from the comparison here, that the Ultimate Edition is much better than the Community Edition. I personally would have purchased the Ultimate Edition, but due to budgetary constraints, I am unable to do so. And also ensure that you have chosen the correct operating system. So simply, and you can choose the format of the file that you wish to download. I would recommend exe, but if you would like to download it using another format, feel free to do so. I already have it installed, so simply install it and follow the default installation configurations. If you have any questions regarding the installation, please feel free to message me. I could also film or record a video to show the installation process if people have issues with it. Now, the best part about IntelliJ, at least in my opinion, I used Eclipse for about, I believe, 8 weeks until I discovered IntelliJ and realized it was a much better IDE, is that it detects the JDK automatically. You do not have to set it manually. It detects it automatically. I believe it still because I have 3 JDKs installed, 11, 15, and 17. I believe it is using 11. So this is the Intellij IDE that I have. This is my project folder. As you can see, it is quite hectic. Let me see if create a new project. Oh yeah, it is using 11, but you can change. See, it detects the SDKs automatically. S stands for software, and that is a general term for any programming language. So a Python development kit can be referred to as an SDK, and a Java development kit can also be referred to as an SDK. So I can simply change the SDK that I would prefer to use. But if you installed 17 without any prior installations, it should detect it for you automatically. Now here I will show you how to write the source code that we previously wrote here, but on IntelliJ, and then execute it without the reliance on the terminal. So, before I forget, if you would like to change the font, simply go to File, Settings, and then go to Editor, Font, and you can change it to whichever you deem worthy. So we will start with a new project. I will leave the SDK there as it is. Next, I will give it, let us say, tutorial, the name. Oh, actually, I need to change the location. So I will simply do this. That previous location you saw was for my practices regarding data structures, which we will cover possibly at the end of the tutorial, God willing. As I mentioned before, of course it does not exist, so I will create it and I will use this window. As I said, the aim of this tutorial is to provide a comprehensive tutorial series for Java, so I will try to cover the language in its entirety, which is impossible, of course, due to the depth of the API, but I will try to cover the necessary functionalities in their entirety the best I can. So now I have the project created. We will not be using this idea folder, so we can ignore it, but here you see SRC, which is the abbreviated version of source code. So all of your documents or all of your code will be within this folder here. I have the project folder tutorial installed or prepared or created on my C directory. So if I have to access it, I will have to go into my C drive directly and access the folder there. I believe, if I recall correctly, your project folders should be in C. I recall that there is an issue if you do not place it in C directly, but if you have placed your project folder elsewhere and it functions, feel free to use that directory. So I will hover over source after I click it and right click, and I will say new, and here you have a list of what we can create. So I know we said it starts with library, which has been installed. The API was installed with the JDK, and each library has a collection of packages. I did not refer to creating a new package. This is for user-defined packages or custom packages that you will create, and I will show you how to create packages later on. Then we will choose Java class here with this icon C, and here you have a sublist of what you would actually like to create. We will ignore these and we will create a class and we will name it driver. Okay, now that we have the driver class, it has been created automatically for us. That is the beauty of an IDE. We will press enter and it also automatically indents for you. So I will write the main function, but instead of writing what I wrote earlier, you can simply type in PSVM, then press tab, and it prints it for you automatically. Now, as you can see, you will see a green triangle that indicates executability. Why? Because we have main. You cannot execute a Java program without the main function. This main function indicates that the program will execute starting from here. That is why you see the play button on the left side here. We will discuss this in further detail, God willing, in the future. So we will type in system.out, but since I utilize the Zahi way, which is basically the lazy way, we have it trademarked under one of our colleagues' name because he taught us that. So instead of typing system.out.println, simply type SOUT, then press tab. By the way, if you are using Eclipse, PSVM is not the shortcut for Eclipse. It is main. Then I believe you press and hold Control and then space, and then it types it out for you automatically. If I recall correctly, I only used Eclipse, as I said, for about 4 weeks, or was it 8 weeks, and that was it. I have been using Intellij for a year now. The same with system.out.println. If you are using Eclipse, it is sysout, and then press and hold Control and possibly space or enter, I do not recall. So, and as you can see, it also types the semicolon for you, and the beauty of using an IDE is the color coding. So it shows you the keywords in predefined in Java that you cannot use, or rather you cannot name a variable, for example void, because that is a keyword. And you see the name of the method here is in yellow to show you to differentiate between keywords and method names. And also this is part of the enumeration, which we will cover later on. So we will put welcome to Java. And if you are following along, ensure that you place the double quotation marks. And we will discuss this possibly in the upcoming video when we discuss variables, because this is a type of variable known as a string, and it must be encompassed in double quotes. And then we will leave the semicolon, and it is also with a different color. Now I want to run this program. So what you will do, I wonder if it will run if I click here. Oh yeah, if you click here, simply say run driver.main. Now click this, and you should see a console open here. There we go. This is known as the console. If you are playing games such as Team Fortress 2, for example, or creating your own game on RPG Maker Studio or SRPG Studio, you probably have seen the term console before. This is the console. This is the console, and it is used for testing your code, either through standard input or standard output / standard error, which we will cover later on. So you see, this is your output here, welcome to Java, and it created a new line because of this. This is print line. It creates a new line automatically after it prints the argument here. We will cover all of this later on, God willing. So, and as you can see, process finished with exit code 0. That means no errors were found in the code. So it ran flawlessly without any errors. Alhamdulillah, which means thank God. So the code has been executed flawlessly. We did not have to rely on the terminal. We did not need to create the code using Notepad. Now we have an IDE that aids or assists in our coding. Now, for example, I will show you if I make a mistake intentionally here. You see, I already have error notifications. If I click here, do not rely on the accuracy of the IDE, by the way. Here it is accurate because it is obvious what is missing, but if you have a lengthy source code, it will inform you of an error, but it will possibly fail to identify the issue. So do not rely too much on the error detection in the IDE. That is why we have the tool debugger, which we covered in the previous video, and we will see how to debug the code. This is the icon for it. I honestly do not know why it is called debugging. I know why it is called debugging, to remove the bugs in the code. I do not know why it is called a bug. I do not like the term, to be quite frank. So it will notify you of the issue, so you simply put semicolon here. Well, what if I forgot to use the double quotes? It will also notify you with an error. This is why I would recommend using the IDE as opposed to Notepad, which some people prefer to use. Apparently it fuels their ego. If they would like to do so, they are more than welcome. But I do not mind that they would like to use it. What I do mind is when they mock you for not using it. So yeah, I would recommend using this IDE. This is the IDE that I will be using from henceforth, God willing, for all the other tutorial videos. Did I forget anything for this particular video? We covered the oh yeah, I wanted also to show you the API for Java. Let us see if I can find. I forgot to search for it on the server. Java 17 API. Let us see if I can find it. Here, for example, API documentation. There we go. Aha, there we go. I will post this link in the description below as well, but I will also try to, well, since we are using JDK 17, I do have the API for 11 and 15 in a downloaded format. So I have a folder for 17 and for 15, sorry, and for 11. If you would like, just let me know and I can send it to you directly. I will have to see if I can download the API for 17. This has been created using an engine known as Javadoc, which is the abbreviation of Java documentation. We will cover that later, God willing. But what I wanted to show you was the packages. So we said the API or the library is a collection of packages. These are the packages. Java.base, that is what we are using. So the basic package is what we used in our program here. This is java.base. You have java.compiler, java.data transfer, desktop, scripting, SQL, and so on and so forth. Now, if I press this Java base, here I find another set of packages. So this portion here, this is known as a module. And a module is a collection of packages. I did not discuss modules because we will not be relying on them for this tutorial series. So when you click, we will be using java.base for the entirety of this tutorial. Now this module is comprised of multiple packages, as you see here. These are the packages that we will be accessing throughout the tutorial. Most likely we will access java.math for the mathematical operations, and we will also utilize the utilities package. That is a pun because I am punny. I do not recall if we will rely on other packages, but maybe java.time, perhaps we will see, but most likely Java Math, Java Util, and Java, oh yeah, we will use Java IO as well. Now when you click on the package, let us use java.math for example, you will see the collection of classes that we discussed in the previous tutorial, and it can be subdivided into classes and enums. Do not worry about enums yet. We will cover enumerations later on, God willing. Now let us take a look at big decimal, for example, as a class. We will click it. Here it gives you information regarding the class, and at the bottom here, if you scroll downwards, you should see the collection of variables here. They are called fields. We will cover why they are called fields later on. We will also cover what a constructor is, but if you clicked on the package or the class, sorry, it should give you the information and the methods, of course. So it should give you the method, and on the right here you see the description. It helps indicate what each variable or each constructor or each method includes or activates / executes. And that is about it for the API and this tutorial. I will be leaving the links for all 4 websites in the description below, God willing. I hope this video was helpful and beneficial to you all. If you have any questions, feel free to message me. If I made any mistakes, please correct me so that we can all learn. As I mentioned in the previous video, one does not learn from success, one always learns from failure, which is why I would rather fail and learn than succeed and mislead. So that is it for the tutorial. I will see you inshallah in the next video. I honestly do not know when I will record it. As I mentioned, I have familial obligations as well as obligations to my employment, so I will try my best to prepare the next video as promptly as I can. Enjoy the rest of your day, be safe, take care, and peace be upon you all, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.